All right, we are live, and a very good evening and a warm welcome to everyone. This is Delvin, and we are MESC Red Devils NCR. And I have Mojo sir and Ojas bhai with me. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hi
Hope you're
guys.
doing well. Uh,
Hi.
as you know, as you know, it's the World Cup going on, and in the games as for now, the first game was Morocco Croatia, which ended in a goalless draw. And currently, Germany are facing off with Japan, with Germany leading 1-0 courtesy of an Ilkay Gundogan penalty. But this is not the reason why we are here. So, yesterday, while the world was engrossed in the festivities of the World Cup, two major things happened as far as Manchester United is concerned. The first one was that the club announced that Cristiano Ronaldo's contract was terminated with the words mutual consent, although we all know that it was anything but. And not many times I can say this that Cristiano Ronaldo or any news related to Cristiano Ronaldo is relegated to the sidelines over the course of his illustrious career. But that is exactly what happened when late night another bombshell was dropped, where the Glazers have finally, after 17 years of putting this club in the doldrums, letting this club drift aimlessly from domination to mediocrity, and after taking money out of the club to their heart's content as per their whims and fancies, they have finally put the club on sale. They have released a statement saying that they are commencing a series of strategic evaluations in which they'll look at any or all alternatives, which also include a possible sale. And it is clearly mentioned in the statement, but this is just mildly putting the fact that in all intents and purposes, is the last stand, that the Glazers are finally going to leave. And this hopefully is the start of a new era of this club under new ownership that for once cares for the club and would do what is right in the interests of the club. So let's just get right into it. Mojo sir, I'll talk about you. You've been a season ticket holder. You've compared to all of us, you have a much more better understanding of how the club has been over the past years. I mean, ever since that you've been supporting the club before the Glazers took over, it started off with a 3% takeover in 2003 with a minimal stake, which gradually increased up to 66%, and then it became a hostile takeover in 2005 under the leadership of then the patriarch of the family, that is Malcolm Glazer. And ever since his demise, the ownership duties have been taken over by his six children, with Avram and Joel Glazer at the forefront, and the rest of the siblings having roles under various capacities, but not the primary face of the club, as we say. So you know what the situation was over the years. You've seen the club deteriorate. You've seen the club stagnate. You've seen the club being left behind by the likes of Liverpool, City, and even Spurs for that matter now. So, what are your first thoughts? I mean, we all know that this has been long overdue, but what are your thoughts on the situation? And what do you make of the sheer suddenness of this announcement? I mean, it's not sudden for you, but it's sure as hell is sudden for us. So, what are your initial thoughts on this?
Look, when the Glazer took over actually happened, there were a lot of protest outside Old Trafford because for some reason, I mean, not for some reason, but yes, at that point in time, the Premier League didn't have the checkpoints in place wherein a new owner could come and, I mean, what are the criteria for a new owner to come and take over a Premier League club? The fit and whatever they call it now, the fit and proper test or whatever it is.
Yes,
So nothing
exactly.
of that sort existed back then. Surprisingly, within the British so-called commercial laws or economic or financial laws, nothing of the sort existed that you could actually first mortgage the very asset you were fucking going to buy. Now, how stupid is that? कि मैं कोई चीज आपसे खरीदने वाला हूँ और आप ही की चीज को मैं ब्याज पे रख के उससे पैसे उठा के आप ही से खरीद लूंगा. I mean, I just why was it allowed to happen? I've not heard of any such stupid business deals ever done that I'm actually going to mortgage your very asset to raise funds to buy your very asset. and it was allowed to go through. The British laws were so messed up, which subsequently have been corrected, of course. But I mean, look, it doesn't require me to be following United for 20 or 30 odd years. It's all of us together as United fans over the last 10 or 12 years who've seen that what Glazers' ownership was actually going to be like. Why the protest and everything started happening the moment they took over. Um, you could see the cracks were being papered very effectively by Sir Alex. Um, Berbatov was a good signing. Robin van Persie was a good signing. But beyond that, what players did Glazers give even Sir Alex Ferguson? I mean, are you seriously trying to tell me that Phil Jones and Chris Smalling were your answers to Rio Ferdinand and Emmanuel Vidic? I don't think so. But then those were the kind of budgets that were available. And we were at that time, I mean, coming back to Ronaldo, at that time we were made to believe that the 80 million that we got from Real Madrid on the sale of Cristiano Ronaldo will be invested back into the team. None of it was. So basically, and then yes, of course, I mean, for whatever we talk nowadays about Old Trafford rotting away sadly, and the team not being up to the mark, and the footballing structure not being there, I mean, this had to spiral out of control at some time. You couldn't possibly, and it's not possible. Look, I run a very small business as compared to the size of Manchester United, but there was a time when my business was highly leveraged, and it got to a point where I quickly realized that you cannot run a highly leveraged business for a long time. These guys could do that for about 15, 16 years because United uh, were and probably are the biggest football club in the world. Um, yes, our revenues might have been below that of Real Madrid or Barcelona, but I mean, we were literally raking in about what, 550 million or 600 million pounds as revenues. And yeah, so look, you're absolutely right in saying that, this comes as a surprise, but honestly speaking, it doesn't, because the signs were there in the club that things were not right. And the reason why I say that is you go back 2 summers. The summer when we signed Ahmad, Pellistri, and Cavani on the last day, there were no funds available that summer either. So in a complete shithousery kind of a thing, Ahmad and Pelistri were signed. I mean, why did we sign them for 40 million combined when none of them have been used for last 2.5 years? It's a complete mess. The subsequent summer, because we had let the Sancho deal not happen, Sancho deal happened. Varane came out of nowhere. So my presumption is that they are just building funds to make the signings maybe 2 years later because they don't have anything to spend there and then. And so I mean, and then there are things beginning to happen. There are things beginning to happen like, um, for example, Team Viewer wanting out. They're not wanting to continue with the sponsorship. When I am aware, अब मुझसे सोर्स मत पूछना, हमारे यहाँ ना ये बड़ा फेमस चीज है कि कुछ भी डालो, व्हाट इज द सोर्स, घंटा नहीं पता मुझे सोर्स क्या है, बट मुझे ये पता है that Kohler was approached to renew their sleeve sponsorship, to which they said no, because there are segments wherein Kohler were beginning to realize that their sales were getting affected because of the association with United's entire toxicity, so to speak. Um, there are other, I think, out of the 2022 odd associate sponsors that we have, about 11 or 12 are coming for renewal sometimes in the summer of 23 or winter of 24. And those out of those 11 or 12, I can confirm, again, don't ask me the source, I can confirm that 7 or 8 of them have clearly suggested that they do not want to continue. So if you have your principal sponsor wanting out, if you have 7 or 8 associate sponsors wanting out, and let's be clear, we are not qualifying for Champions League, so that revenue from match days is going down, revenue from TV rights is going down, buying players is not getting anywhere easy. You have a shoddy wage structure which you have ignored for last 10 years. So it's all going to pile up. And with the way the current just a so-called fund movement. If you really talk about a business in the sense of cash available in the
From a
business
liquidity
analysis,
perspective.
yeah, United sometimes in the summer of 2024 would have for the first time failed to service its interest liabilities, and that would have meant serious trouble. So before everything could go so totally out of hand, and spiral absolutely out of control, um, Glazers decided that it's time to sell. And I'll be honest, when I listen to Stretford Paddock, or when I listen to United People's TV, or when I listen to United Stand, they're absolutely right that the last straw of holding on to their ownership was probably the European Super League. The moment that didn't happen, they pretty much knew that 200 or 300 million extra pounds that they could earn as a result of being part of that project is no more going to be there. So they had to run. And the interesting thing, which we amongst our group read about, what, 6 7 months ago, that Adidas isn't too keen on renewing the kit sponsorship either, which runs out, I think, the summer of 2024 or 23, I don't know. And even if they do, they're not going to pay you 75 million now, because you're nowhere near challenging or nowhere near being a top club at this point in time. So I believe that there are money running out from sponsors, money running out because of footballing reasons, players getting expensive and expensive to sign, the poor wage structure. Everything has just compounded into what Manchester United are today, that they cannot sustain the business model until unless tomorrow they come out and say, look, we as a family collectively sell $1 billion worth of our shares, and we clear the debt for Manchester United, and here is another 500 million going into the club to do some repairs to Old Trafford for the time being, and invest another 250 300 million into the team. I mean, even if you look at the team, talking about the footballing side of things, moving away from the commercial aspects, we've done absolutely fuck all, because आप टेलर्स को भी नहीं बेच पा रहे हो, आप बाई को नहीं बेच पा रहे हो. You still have Jones sitting there like a fucking Egyptian mummy in your bloody team. मतलब कब से पड़ा हुआ है वो. I mean, with all due respect to him, he's a Premier League medal winner. With all due respect to him, but it's like even if you for one moment think that you can buy players, but you need to sell first, you're fucking not even able to sell players. You're selling players which were important to your footballing project, so to speak. You sold Ghana. Ghana was very much needed. We are here in the situation where we're absolutely running Casemiro to the ground, whereas Ghana, had he been here, he would have learned so much from Casemiro, and then been the next guy who we can fall upon or rely upon once Casemiro gets to 32, 33 within 2 or 3 years' time. Then you have a younger CDM who has learned it from the best CDM, if in the game, so to speak. But it's just been all over the place, and the writing was on the wall. And I'm glad it's come to this, that they are putting the club on the market. They have nowhere else to go. I don't think, I mean, look at it. I mean, if you read that one particular line of the statement, that they are also considering an additional investment. An additional investment would mean a third party bringing in £1 billion, or £1.5 billion, or whatever.
I
If,
think
for example,
it's similar to the one where the reports had come out that Apollo Sports Management would try to get in a stake. I think it's somewhere
right,
around those lines, right?
that's exactly what I'm coming to. So, Delvin, imagine if you were that person, you go and give the Glazers £1.5 billion and say that, look, I'll take 25% control of the club. Then the second question arises: is wouldn't you, as an investor, then be looking at a particular and a handsome return on your investment? Now, what would that investment, or what would that return involve? Taking out a share of the profit? We're not making profits. Then, charging interest to the Glazers so that at least you're in a decent return on your investment to the basic level of interest is met. So you're loading more interest onto the debt already. So even if they think of getting an additional investment, they can't, because that will be a third party asking for a share of its profits when the club is not making profits. Or the third party will say, okay, at least pay me the interest on my investment. That means you have loaded more debt. So the only way out now is to actually sell out and get out. And I'm glad it's come to this. But again, I mean, I'm sure we'll discuss this during the course of this discussion we are having. More important than the fact that we are now on sale is that who buys us, because you don't want another Glazer thing to happen. You don't want another greedy bastard to come and say that, look, I'm going to take out the dividends and I want my profits. Because Manchester United, for anybody, and let's be clear on this, I mean, हम तो छोटे से फैन चैनल हैं यार, पता नहीं लोग तो कितनी कितनी कमेंट्री कर रहे हैं, इतने बड़े बड़े लोग कहाँ कहाँ बैठ के. But Manchester United, where it is, for any buyer, that buyer needs to know is not going to give you a return for next 5 to 6 years minimum. And if you add a new Old Trafford or a improved stadium or a new stadium, you can forget about returns for a decade. So if you, अगर जो कहते हैं ना बिजनेस में, अगर आपके अंदर उतना पैसे लगाने का गुदा है, then Manchester United is worth your salt to buy and build the club again. Because if you're thinking you're going to come and pay the Glazers 6 billion and just do do some painting job here or there, add a few colorful seats or whatever, and then call it a refurbished Old Trafford. No, that's not going to happen. People, social media today will not let anybody live, or shove their misgivings under the carpet anymore. So somebody who has deep enough pockets and understands the club needs to come in and buy us. But I'm glad it's come to this. Thank God. Glazers, fuck off, man.
I mean, yeah, there are a lot of insightful and a lot of logical points you spoke about. Because as far as I remember, when the Glazers took over the club, we were absolutely debt free, and the
Yes.
moment they officially took the majority leadership of the club, I think at that very moment the club plunged into debt at around 660 million there itself. The moment the
Uh,
takeover became official,
it was, if I recall, yeah, you're absolutely right. About 600 million pounds of
yeah,
debt was added
600,
onto the club
yeah, immediately
immediately.
when the
And
takeover was announced.
get this. I think they bought us in 2004, if I recall, three, where
2000,
something.
2003 was a 3% stake in the club. It was
Right.
a very
So
minimal
presuming
stake.
that around 2004 they bought us. 2004 may Manchester.
2005 was the hostile takeover. 2 years after
Okay,
they
so
initially took. Yeah.
2005, if I can recall correctly, I mean, somebody, if they want to go and, do Googling over it, they can. 2005, in Manchester United, their profits used to be about 30 million pounds per year, 30 to 35 million pounds per year. Net profit and a debt free club. Let that sink in. 2005, the club profits were 35 million. 2022 or 21
They're
or
at a loss.
2020, we are still reporting profits of 19 or 20 million. I mean, last year, yeah, because of COVID and everything. Once you build everything, all the factors in that, the another 150 million pounds worth of credit line they took out to meet the expenses during COVID. If you factor that in, yes, we are making losses. But before then, even in 2018 or 19, I don't recall a statement where we have made a 35 or 40 million pounds profit in an annual operation, which we used to make in 2005. That's how backward we have been fucked.
that's
I'm glad.
that's that yeah, on the broader scale of things, I think this was the way to go. And the fact that you pointed out that the Super League was one of the biggest decisions, biggest reasons. Add to that the failed endeavor of Project Big Picture, where there was this huge radical plan to transform English football. I think in that United and Liverpool were the front runners. That didn't work either. So coming to the Super League, oh, just why I'll come to you. So
And
now we all,
I'll just, so sorry, Delvin, I'm sorry to interfere.
yeah,
I'll
sure, sure,
just
sure.
add
Yeah,
one
please,
more
please, please,
important
please.
point. You know, I would salute United fans all over the world for the Glazer out movement on literally every platform, social media, bannerings, posters, whatever you want to call it. United fans were Glazers out for the last 18 or 16 months as vigorously as they have never been before. And most significantly, though, I mean, I wouldn't say that because somebody lives in Manchester, he's a better fan than I am, or a better United fan than you are. We all contribute in our own ways, depending upon where in the world we are, to support United. But the guys out there at Old Trafford or in Manchester, or whoever was traveling to Old Trafford to watch United games and to be singing out Glazers out literally every game this season, has also affected the fact that they realize that there's nothing that is turning the tide this time around. So the fans world over, big kudos to them. Absolutely big kudos to them.
We will definitely come to the fan aspect of this decision later, and what ramifications does this have for the club in total as well. We'll come in detail about that. Or just by coming to the Super League topic, I mean, now everyone knew that the Super League, the mere concept of the Super League was a watershed moment in the history of the game. I mean, this was the first time where some of the biggest clubs in the world came together and decided to break away, just so that they could have the extra pounds in their coffers. With English clubs being at the forefront, with 6 clubs from England. Yes, the and surprise, surprise, uh, Joel Glazer was the vice president of the Super League as well, with Fiorentino Perez being the president and the chairman of the entire operation. I mean, there was no surprises there. But how big a factor do you think was the abolishment of the Super League? And also, what does this mean? Now, both Liverpool and Manchester United are for sale. So, what does this mean for the Super League as well? So, it's a two-part question. The first question is, how big of a role did the failure of the Super League have in this decision that has come out today or last night? And what is the future of the Super League? Because if based on your answer for the question future of the Super League, I have something to say about that as well.
Explained the financial side of whatever has happened yesterday, and of course, you will be having good points regarding Super League. But it was a planned project that was initiated by one of the strongest president of football that exists in this current era, that is Florentine Perez. He wanted something to, unite the bigger clubs across the Europe to create a league that finances their pockets, makes them a bigger teams in all around the Europe, and something that they wanted to build upon and restart away from UEFA, which of course didn't happen. What effect it had was every fan united in this. Every fan got united. They supported that they were against the Super League. So this sort of created a momentum that if for a if for a cause such as of Super League, if the fans can unite, then with some more added pressure, we can create uh, more more burden for the owners by our unity, and we can put them in a situation where they have to give up their current stake uh, in the ownership, because once that movement failed, Glazers didn't have, not only Glazers, many top clubs didn't have a way to create that finance. I read the model of Super League. It was like a lot of money was involved. I don't know the exact figures, but it was a very big amount. And only problem in that was that they didn't realize that what fans would do. They thought of us merely people who just pay for your stuff, pay for the club. They're just happy to watch games, but they didn't realize what fans can do together. And by this confidence, by this movement, uh, there was a sense of unity. There was a sense of it created an idea that for a single purpose as abolishing a Super League, if these efforts can multiply, we can push the owners out. I don't know what happened in Liverpool. I don't follow Liverpool at all on the personal stages of that, like what the fans are protesting, what
Don't,
they're doing.
don't worry, Ojas, by no one does. In this panel, no
No,
one does.
no, I don't know what happened with Liverpool, but like Glazers had it coming. Uh, I we all Everyone on this panel agrees that Super League was the one way out of this financial crisis. Like it was beautifully planned by Perez how the things would be done, and in their sense, it must have been like we are doing because everyone who starts earning a penny wants more. It's that concept. Whatever you have is less. They just want money. They want to keep earning the money, minting the money. Whatever we do, we have to just earn somehow. and they just didn't realize. I think this was the big factor, was they didn't realize. Even I slept on the topic. I was just sleeping. I got the news that Super League, Fabrizio Romano just tweeted that Super League is coming out. I'm like, what is this? I don't understand. I don't know what is happening. And I recall that day as the Black Day, because everyone was in shock what was happening. Like Twitter was full of it, WhatsApp groups were full of it. What is happening? I saw many people leave WhatsApp groups as a protest that we can't support this club, we can't support watching football again. I literally saw people leaving WhatsApp groups, and I thought maybe this is a huge change in football that is coming out. But the way fans, protested, that it really needs some guts to do that. It shows the love of the game. They fans love the game, they love the team, they love the management, and they don't want some things to change just for the sake of money. So I think this was the initial spark. Glazers lost on Super League, and so did bigger clubs. But other clubs had alternatives ready. They had alternatives to plan how to, like Real Madrid. I don't think they will ever run out of money, but everyone had some sort of plan. And so now Glazer had an issue how to keep, fans also happy, because I remember that certain panel was created to have an interaction with the owners and certain groups of fans during that day. I don't remember. Mark Goldbridge was also involved, and something happened. There was an interaction between owners and the fan section that protested at the Old Trafford. So there was added pressure that we have to keep the fans happy. There was added pressure we have to win something. There was added pressure we have to keep sponsors happy. All this builds up, and your pockets are getting emptied day by day. You're getting revenue, but revenue is so public. Everyone is saying that we can't sign players. You're taking out revenue. You're doing this. You're doing that. Then ultimately, owners also say that we don't want this to be a mess, because if now something bad happens, I think fans will really, really think of the next step. And I think that was, I think, giving up watching the game, not coming to matches, or just bashing onto the doors of the owners. Anything could have happened. This would have taken the aggressive turnaround if this season we don't do anything with our team, with our stadium, like Mojo sir said, which are with our facilities, all that Ronaldo said in his interview. Glazers were fully exposed this time around, and there was no escape from that. This is what I think.
Fair enough, Ojis bhai. So before we move on, just an update. Japan have taken the lead against Germany, and it is 2-1 Japan with less than 4 minutes to play in this game, in this Group E match, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that's Group E. Yes. So this is a rather shocking turn of events as far as Germany is concerned. What is it with teams taking the lead after penalties and then surrendering their lead? It happened with a certain Argentine team yesterday, and it's happening to a German team today. All right. Speaking of the Super League, I have a rather interesting theory on why the Super League was the last stand for United. I mean, if we take the American franchisees into context, Dallas Cowboys is still the most valuable sports organization in the world, followed by the Yankees, the Red Sox, and even as far as recently, the Denver Broncos were bought for close to $5 billion. And Denver Broncos haven't won a Super Bowl ever since Peyton Manning won it for them in the early 2010s. In spite of that, in spite of having a team which is borderline ass, the ball club was sold for almost close to $5 billion. So what the Super League was basically an opportunity to get the values of these football entities closer to their American counterparts. With 300 million coming into your pockets every year by virtually doing nothing, that automatically increases your coffers. Gives you liquid cash more, like Mojo sir you rightly pointed out, gives the club more liquidity, gives the owners more money in their coffers. The fact that this stopped in its tracks meant that that chance was virtually non-existent now. So at this point, it makes sense for the club to be sold at its maximum potential. which is what I see the reason why the Glazers decided that enough is enough, because I don't see them making any more money now. And to take out money from the club, there has to be money in the club in the first place. And that is another aspect where things could have gone wrong. Like you said, if the club doesn't service its interest, it would have gone into serious trouble by 2024. So where's the money to take out? If there is no money in, what will go in their pockets? So simple as that, makes a lot of sense. Now, coming to what happened in the leadership of the Glazers from a football perspective. Initially, Sir Alex did back the takeover openly, said it that these were the right people, so forth, so forth. And initially, the burden was not felt, even though there were protests where the people of the club weren't happy. We still ended up winning trophies. We did the treble. We continuously won 3 Premier League titles in a row under this ownership. We won a UEFA Champions League under the ownership. We went to two UEFA League. We went to two Champions League finals as well. And there was reasonable success. There were trophies coming in. There was success coming in. However, this all changed when Sir Alex Ferguson, coupled with David Gill, also decided to take a step back and leave. At this point, it came to Ed Woodward, who basically until that point was vice chairman and was learning on the job. Now, there was everything in place from the off the field perspective to take this club to the next level, because David Gill had put together a rather excellent network for his replacement to take over at the helm. Because irrespective of whatever happened in as far as the performance and as far as signings were concerned, like Mojister, you rightly pointed out, Phil Jones and Chris Smalling are not the best replacements for Vida and Rio, respectively. But there was a good system in place which could have been taken advantage of. But Ed Woodward went ahead and did the opposite on the insistence of the Glazers, or what we do not know. But in these 10 years, Manchester United under the Glazers has been like an entity which is frozen in time, neither moving forward, neither moving forward, only backwards or at the same place. This is what footballing purgatory looks like, the situation that Manchester United have been in. All right. Now, obviously, this is a big issue, but the question will again rise as to who will be the potential buyers now, because two of the biggest clubs in English football are for sale at the same amount of time. So at this point, it becomes an arms race as to which of these teams reaches first to the prospective investor who wants to invest. Both teams are two of the most successful teams in English football. Both of them have won everything there has to be won. But only one of them will get that investor they desire. My question to you, Mojo sir, is who at this point has the Gouda to invest in a club that is which is called a poison chalice in today's footballing language? Manchester United right now are a poison chalice for managers and for any prospective ownership groups as well. Because as far as I know, I think even Sir Jim Ratcliffe has walked out of a deal where his people have said that no way you're taking over this club. It's not feasible for you at all, in spite of the money that you make. So this is what is coming out, and coupled to it with the asking prices, there are different sources quoting different asking prices, so on and so forth. What is the way ahead from here? Because clearly, securing the ownership for a club is of much more significance than, say, buying a striker in January, for obvious reasons. Because this club has to have a stable ownership group, an ownership group that cares, and an ownership group that will look for the best interests of this club in the future. So what are your thoughts on the prospective buyers, and who do you think is daring enough, smart enough, or some might even say foolish enough to jump into bed with us?
Look, I'm glad you brought up the Woodward reign, so to speak, which has been the main reason for where we are today. I'm pretty much sure he didn't learn much from David Gill, because had he learned anything from David Gill, he would have realized that you keep the commercial and the footballing aspects of a football club absolutely separate. But he chose not to do that. And sometimes जब भी ये बात होती है ना, मुझे वो थ्री इडियट्स की वो सीन याद आता है where Amir Khan is actually explaining to his friends कि लता मंगेशकर क्रिकेट खेलती और सचिन तेंदुलकर गाने गाता तो nobody would have been successful. And that's exactly what's come to roost. I mean, the commercial guys are handling football, footballing guys are nowhere to be seen. So you've fucked up the commercial and you've messed up the footballing beyond repair. So yeah, I mean, Woodward's reign, and I'm being honest. Had Woodward's house not been attacked, and I don't support that, had Woodward's house not been attacked, we are probably not getting Bruno either. So it's like one complete mess that Ed Woodward's time at United was. Coming to prospective owners, look, if Chelsea had about 60 or 70 prospective buyers who were shortlisted and then shortlisted again and then filtered again. I'm sure United will have a lot more. But then I think it's more of a situation like Ronaldo's, wherein I think Ronaldo knows where he was going to go before he chose to make that interview. And I think Glazers are smart enough to know who are going to come forward with serious bids before they actually put out a statement that they're actually wanting to sell. My only worry is that I hope we don't get any such American consortium or American investment bankers, so to speak, wanting to buy us, because we're going to be in the same shit, same loophole for God knows how many more years to come. And it could really get worse. And the reason why I say that is because that guy is going to come in only for profits. If it's a consortium or if it's an investment banker, and then you are basically into the same spiral that when will they start taking the money out? They will very soon realize the investment is not worth it, and then again look for some buyer subsequently. Is going to be a mess. So if you want a stable ship, and if you want a ship that actually turns around for the better from now on, then we need people with deep pockets to come in. There are talks about the Dubai sovereign fund to come in, and I think they and I really hope they do. There's also talks of Mukesh Ambani. We all know Mukesh Ambani, and I'm a channel partner with Geo, so I pretty much know what they are all about. That their name is also in the hat. But honestly, I see. You got to understand. Uh, if I could, like Abhishar asks there, who are your preferable buyers then? My preferable buyer is anybody who has truckloads of money. And I'll be honest enough in saying this, and I'm not mincing my words. I couldn't give two fucking hoots as to what their human rights background is, right? I want my football club to rise again. And let's be honest, are you seriously telling me that every billionaire out there on this planet has been the most ethical person always in their life? I mean, let's पहले अपने दिमाग की बत्ती ये जलाओ कि given how the rules of every country are, how the laws of every country are, how billionaires actually build their empire. Are you trying to tell me every billionaire out there has been ethical enough for everything they've done to make the fortune they have made? No, it's never that case. So let's not get into that moral draft of our own that, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that, he's done this, he's done that. We want a owner who can come in, pay the Glazers off, and then still have about 4 or 5 billion ready to invest onto us. And why 4 or 5 billion? Because let's be honest, if you want a new Old Trafford, a group like Tata, no, Abhishkar, a group like Tata will never go anywhere near Manchester United. Let's be clear about that. What was I saying? Oh, damn, I lost my thought process.
You were talking about having 4 or 5 billion ready to invest, but if there is a stadium redevelopment, then I think preferably more.
Yeah. So Old Trafford, a new Old Trafford, for example, will need about 1 billion. I mean, if you go for a stadium, I think this Spurs stadium capacity is what, 60,000 odd, and they cost them about 960 million to build.
Yes,
and
yes.
Old Trafford. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, even there is a new stand which is going to come out in Anfield, where that will also increase their overall capacity to 61,000.
Yeah, so we are already at 74,000. So if a Spurs brand new stadium with all the tech that we keep hearing about it is had cost them 950 million at a 60,000 capacity, you can pretty much figure out what a 75,000 capacity stadium would cost. So you need £1 billion there. Then you need another billion to figure out how you improve the facilities around Old Trafford. The Carrington needs upgrading. Women team needs proper facilities. Um, and once you're through with that, then you need to figure out the academy, which is falling behind Man City's. Then you need to figure out, most importantly, your first team. You need to figure out the footballing structure around the club. You need to then figure out women's playing 15 or 16 or 20 or whatever. So the amount of work, or the amount of not work, but rather money. And if I from the outside of not having a first hand idea about what's what, I would say 1.5 billion on the stadium. I would say about 750 million on the men's team. That's 2.25 billion. I would say Carrington and
3 billion
women's.
probably, three and a
I
half
would say
billion
about, yeah, I
total.
would say about 3 to 3.5 billion to put the club back on track. And then you
Not
got to
forgetting, not forgetting the
sorry.
swimming pool and the jacuzzi either.
So yeah, I'm sure they're going to be taken care of within
Chef
that amount of
also,
money.
chef
But
also.
then, what I'm trying to get to is 6 billion to pay to the Glazers, 3 to 3.5 billion to put the club back on track. So you need an owner who has that kind of money, and you need an owner who's not going to start shitting bricks 3 years down the line. That, God damn it, I put in 10 billion, I'm not getting much out of it. So we need deep pockets. We need pockets, and if it's sovereign funds from the Middle East, so be it. I couldn't care less. I want my club to be bought by people who are going to whose main drive, whose main motivation would be to see the investment be at the top of every competition that their product participates in, and it wins. So that is what I'm at. I mean, it could be Dubai sovereign fund. I think the Kuwaiti sovereign fund don't have a club under their belt either as yet. So those two could be interesting ones if they want to go ahead. Yeah, and if the Reliance Industries wants to come forward with it, yeah, so be it. I mean, I want somebody who can invest into my club and sustain it, grow it, and not chicken out after 4 years. That
Mojo sir, does
yeah,
Ambani have 10 billion?
and trust me, he does.
His overall net worth right now is close to $90 billion, Otis Bhai.
No, no. I mean,
But
in
then
net worth, look, whenever we talk about anybody's net worth, you look into the properties, the factories, and everything that they have. But if you were to look at the Reliance Group as such right now, they are filthy cash rich. There are no second thoughts about it. Because during COVID, what Mukesh Ambani had promised to all the investors was that he's going to make the company debt free, and they did. Reliance Industries right now is a debt-free company. Figure that out. Let that sink in. So if a company like Reliance Industries is debt-free, you can pretty much imagine how much profits they're making into their bank accounts. They are loaded with cash. There's no second thoughts about it. My only if and but if I could say that is,
are they ready? Are they ready?
are they, are they ready to take that step? Because I made this statement in one of our WhatsApp groups as well, that it's a different thing to be buying a Ishan Kishan for a Mumbai Indians for a 16, 17 crore amount, and it's going to be a different mindset altogether to buy a Osimhen for 360 crores. You understand what I mean? So
Exactly.
that mindset, I think. But then look, the Reliance Industries as a conglomerate are expanding their operations outside India. So maybe this is just one of those things they might want to do. But yeah, I need somebody who's loaded.
I personally don't believe that the major Indian players who would want to get into this are ready for an ownership role in European football just yet, uh,
Hmm.
due to due to the fact that they're still rooted in their own ways. I mean, at the end of the day, Ambani is a businessman. Add to boot a Gujarati, he would definitely want his money back. And like you said, whoever is entering into bed with us will have to forget the likelihood of getting money out of that club for at least the next decade, if the stadium
Easily,
and the rest of the things have to be taken into consideration. So
easily,
whether
a
or
decade
not
minimum.
will yes, yeah, that's just. And so will he able to? Also now, also the fact that Reliance is not run by Mukesh Ambani anymore, it's run by his son right now. That is another interesting point of contention,
No,
whether his son will be as astute
No, look,
as the father.
let me just correct you. As far as I'm aware, Mr. Mukesh Ambani is still the chairman and managing director of Reliance Industries. What's happened is that his kids have been given, the the positions or the asset division might have happened internally. So one's handling one business group, the other is handling the other, but the core business and the totality of it is still under the umbrella of Mr. Mukesh Ambani.
the, one thing that I like in a team like Manchester City, when the foreign owners came, you had to not only rebuild the team, you had to build the brand also. What
Yeah.
is with Manchester United is that you have a brand, you have the supporters, you
Good
you
point.
have to function as a group, as a team. You have to build that. You have to build the stadiums. But although Mojo sir and Devlin, whatever you guys are saying, that there won't be money coming out of the club because so much investment is required. But it can be if the patience is, right. If the approach is right, it we could be minting positive money, a a money, a resource. We would be creating resource in such a heavy manner. We just need that fuel in our armory to just clear off our debts, build a stadium, because the brand of Manchester United is there in the world.
Yeah.
It is there thanks to the Sir Alex Ferguson, the best, the Bobby Charltons. There is a brand that exists in the world, that is Manchester United. Whether Manchester United comes 10th, whether Manchester United plays Europa League, even Ronaldo has left Manchester United, still no one, just like, excuse the stupid fanboys accounts on the Twitter. No one really you just started saying that we won't support Manchester United, because Manchester United is a brand. It's an attraction. It's something that people really hold close to their hearts. And I believe if we get the right armory, we get the right fuel in our pockets, the money, the owners can still get something in return. But yes, as you both said, that patience is required. Otherwise, I believe this we can start earning money very quickly. We just need the ignition.
Absolutely. I mean, what you said, absolutely right. The ingredients are there. I mean, like I said, 2005 में net profit 35 million pound हुआ करता था. So imagine with the TV rights the way they are, and with a decent team in place. So if you let your football be the reason of your success, the money is going to come back a lot quicker. But if you let other things take over, then it's a mess. Because what I mean, it's very famous, very popularly, very openly known that United have spent 1.2 billion since Sir Alex Ferguson retired on signing new players. Fucking hell! I mean, 1.2 billion, and we are nowhere near the Premier League title ever in those 10 years. And so it's money badly spent. That's what happens when you just hand over this, your business to be run by anybody and whosoever concerned, like a Woodward. And shoddy statements, fans ko hawa mein udane ki statements. What we can do in the transfer market, other clubs can only think
And
of. Ye blah
Mojo sir,
blah blah.
also constant change of managers also. This usually happens when there is no stable foundation that is helping
See,
in the rebuild of the team.
for
It
for
is
some
such.
reason, I don't know. For some reason, it's like AB Bhai would agree with this. He's worked in organizations that are big enough that you don't just hire people and let them do this stuff. You need to handhold people. You need to guide people. You need to have processes and checkpoints, checks and balances whether things are going right or not. Glazers just put Woodward in there and they thought that he'll do the job. He didn't. He just made it worse. He made it a absolute shithole. I mean, you're if you're not going to give a manager the players he needs, none of our managers have ever, like ever, in last 12 years had the players that they have wanted. I can vouch my bottom dollar on this, that Sir Alex Ferguson would not have preferred Phil Jones and Chris Smalling as a replacement for Rio Ferdinand and Vidic. तब से प्रॉब्लम चल रही है और आज तक इवन एरिक टेन हैग के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में भी, एंड ओनली व्हेन दे एक्चुअली शैट देयर पैंट्स they signed Casemiro and Anthony, and still they fucking paid 60 million over the actual value of those two players.
The
Now, are you trying to
Varane and
tell me?
Casemiro was a gift from Real Madrid. I don't know what they're doing in this club. They are a gift
नहीं
from
जो भी
Real
है, बट
Madrid.
मेरा पॉइंट ये है कि यार आप कुछ भी ठीक से नहीं चला रहे हो यार. I mean, we all of a sudden go from Anatovic and God knows whosoever to Casemiro and Anthony, and फिर भी we pay 50 million over the actual price of those players. What are you doing? And then you say the cash is running out. Motherfuckers, cash will run out. मैं तुमने चैरिटी बना रखी है यार. तो साला, because you need your part of the 15 million of fucking dividends, you sell Garner, who's the bloody future. 3 साल तुमने उसको लोन पे भेज रखा है जिससे he is the next CDM future of the bloody club, and then you sell him off. Why? Because you've sold, so you bought Anthony and Casemiro at 50 million more expensive than you had ever planned, and now you're sitting in a fucking situation कि तुम्हें अपने dividends निकालने 6 महीने बाद, then you sell Garner. मतलब मजाक बना रखा है यार. So it's a meltdown. I'm glad it's come to a meltdown for them to shit and sell.
Exactly. Another point, what Ojas Bhai spoke about laying the perfect foundation. I think a case in point in this is Manchester City, for example. So when the new ownership group came in, they bought in certain players. They wanted the likes. They desperately wanted Pep Guardiola to helm their project, and that was the groundwork which was laid for Pep Guardiola to arrive. There were people who were called in from Barcelona. I think the current department are all former Barcelona players, Siki Bergerstan, Ferran Soriano, and then after that 1 year, which gave Pep ample of time to take an assessment of the club and see where he's lacking and where he's not. He's not looked back ever since. So this is what laying a foundation for for the right people means, which is something that was absent throughout the ownership tenure of the Glazers. So, Eddie bhai, I'll come to you. I'll talk
Yeah.
about. Let's talk about prospective owners now. We went into depth a little earlier, but there is a lot of talk about Middle East money, blood money, so on and so forth. So now, the state of Qatar is well and truly invested in Paris Saint-Germain. UAE is well and truly invested in Manchester City. All right, and then we have a wide range of American consortiums buying in different clubs and so on and so forth. Who, according to you, would be the perfect owner? I mean, there is no such thing to quantify what is perfect in the broader sense of the term. But to make it simpler for you, who, according to you, would be the person to uphold the values of this club, the ethos of this club, and who will not take out money from the club and make sure that the club's well-being and the club's improvement is put in paramount importance? Which person out there you think is will fulfill these criteria while assuming ownership?
So, see, it's like भिखारी को जितनी भीख मिले कम है. To be or starting with this, so अपनी हालत ऐसी इस टाइप है कि जो कोई भी आ जाए ले लो. But yes, to be very honest, in UAE only the Abu Dhabi has invested in Manchester City. Dubai is still there. Who can invest in us? And with the point you mentioned, Delin bhai, that money should be invested. It should not be taken from the club. And these owners who have all the money reserves and they are cash rich, they will definitely not take out the money from the club. They will invest it in the future, and then they also want that what City has done. So they also want to do that. They win trophies and then they get that money from that trophies or some cash amount, prize money. But not that they are taking money from the club. Okay, no, we will not be investing in the club. We will not be like. And other prospective owners where all Twitter handles and everywhere it's showing that it's Mukesh Ambani from India. Yeah, it will be a proud moment for us. But I don't think they also have that football knowledge thing. And again, it will be a case of I don't think that it will be a case of Glazers, but it could be because again they will hire someone as a director of football or something like that, or chief investment or something like that, who will be like Woodward, who will be sitting on the top. Though they can buy something with the footballing brain, but it will be most. I don't think that they are a viable option. But yes, someone from Middle East or someone from European, though Europe is also in a mess right now. They all the news coming out of recession and everything. But I still feel someone from Arabic region or Gulf region might come and buy this club, because now we know the City has been bought, we know PSG has been bought, then Newcastle has been bought now. And if Glazers would have come 6 months earlier with this statement that we want to sell this club, Saudi Arabia owners would have bought us, and at the start of the season. It's just that they missed the opportunity. It was lost for us, but Saudi Arabians were still in profit. They got a club with much, much, much lower price, which is Newcastle. So I still think that Dubai or Kuwait, these owners can still buy our club, and also they will not take the money out of our club, which is very, very important at this point of time. And they will listen to the manager, they will listen to the football hierarchy, they will have a hierarchy at the top, because like Mojo sir mentioned earlier, in organizations you cannot have a person who doesn't understand what the business is about. And Glazers were they were like, just they bought the club, but they didn't have f knowledge of football. They hired Woodward, who had zero knowledge of football, and they just wanted to make money out of United. And the same thing, this should not be happening with the new owners. So this is my point of view.
I actually kind of like the prospect of having Arab owners. I mean, the things are very straightforward. I mean, you don't perform, you're called into a plush
Yeah.
five-star hotel for an assassination. Oh, sorry, presentation, and then you are nowhere to be found. So I think the prospect of having Arab owners is a rather appealing one. Helps the club to perform, and you know that the fear of your safety is always there. However,
Yeah.
let's come to you, mate. I think out of all of us, I think when the news broke out, I think you must have been very, very happy at the thought of seeing the leeches finally being shown the exit out of this club. So my question to you is a very simple one. Because by the way things are looking, the only people that will be logically able to buy these clubs are someone from the Middle East or fellow American consortiums. This is a no-brainer, I think. But
Yeah.
on the yeah, so I think so. If and when an American entity does go on to buy the club, what do you think should that their approach be? I mean, we've already seen Todd Bowley go ahead and buy Chelsea. Now that man is as deluded as they come, but there is an inkling of a process around, because I've seen the players that he has signed. He signed them for long. He signed them on a 6 year or a 7 year contract, which means that he is going for longevity. And there, from a neutral's perspective, the talk of having London Cowboys, his inaccurate statements about the academy being aside, there are inklings of a footballing structure there. Yes, he wanted Ronaldo, but and for that reason he sacked Tuchel. Does not say much about him knowing the sport, but then again, he is trying to make the right noises for a club, and maybe or maybe not. Whether that works out needs to be seen. So, what are your thoughts on the off chance that the club is sold to fellow American investors, Weber?
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. First of all, I think, look, be it American investors, Indian, Chinese, whoever it is, right? The most important thing is that person should be somebody, you know, doesn't need to be the fan of the club, but should care for the club. He needs to put in the money, he needs to invest in the club. But here again, you do not, I mean, we do not want another Glazer, that, you come here as a consortium investment, right? You expect profits to be in return, for the performances. Because you see where United stands right now, repairing. The squad needs massive spending. You probably need somebody like a Todd Bowley, who can just come in, spend massive money. Not just on the first team. If you look at the depth of the problems of Manchester United, you need to spend on the women's team, the academy. What it used to be, the great flourished academy of ours. It's I don't think. I mean, we are definitely falling behind, right, from the likes of Dortmund and Real Madrid. Yeah, they've got better academies than us. So I think it's going to be a long overhaul due process. One thing I'm really optimistic about is I do not think the Glazers can really sell to another Glazer, because I don't think Manchester United, as big of a club it is, I don't think it's got any, I don't think it's got enough, glamour in it, that you can milk more money out of it, while taking out the dividends, right? We're not a consistent Champions League club, right? The stadium is not at the best state possible. So whoever buys the team needs to invest in the club and the stadium. Period. Full stop. Because if that does not happen, we can very much likely go to the Newcastle way, right? Because I clearly do not remember, but I've seen Newcastle, because of ridiculed ownership, falling from a top four team, Champions League team to a relegation side, right? I don't think United would get relegated, but again, look, American consortium, I'm open to them, right? But again, because we've had such bad experience with the American owners, with the Stan Kroenkes for Arsenal, FSG for Liverpool, I do think there is an element of that stern fear amongst the fan base that it shouldn't be an American. But then again, look, you just cannot generalize, right? The Red Bull Group, they're American, they're doing some fantastic job, right, in bringing out the
Austrian
talent.
actually.
Oh,
Red Bull's Austrian.
my bad, sorry. Um, yeah. So I think, look, it just needs to be somebody who cares for the club, right? And somebody who can hire competent people. There were talks about. AB Bhai was telling about Ambani possibly, coming in. I sort of disagree with a certain points in that he wouldn't be a good owner. But then again, look, there are certain people on the cards. Look, I'm not very sure. People are talking about this. Oh my God, we should not be going near a Saudi owner or a owner from Middle East. I think that's a very, very, double standard talk. Because I feel, where are the
Western
more
Western Western media bias. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
exactly.
Yeah.
Come on. United Kingdom, England should be the last person to tell us about what human rights is after
Or
sort of
any Western country for that matter.
Western
Any
country,
Western
exactly.
country, yeah.
If I'm a if I'm a fan from Iran and I see people like saying, what, we should not buy anyone from Middle East, they're bad people. We should not let anyone from Middle East buy the club, they're bad people. You know what? Let's go for the nice, loving Americans, who definitely did the best job while invading Iran. Look, my only concern is I only care about the person who brings money into the club, irrespective of you're Saudi, you're Korean, you're Indian, anything. It does not really matter. Well, obviously people would say that in bitterness. I have done that myself, with the oil money and all that stuff, and all that, the Russian money and all that. But look, I do not mind anyone in particular, be it American consortium or any Saudi prince or Indian billionaires like Amani or Adani, unless and until they invest money in the club, they want to make the club the best in the world. Because you see, now you cannot. Look, it's that time. In football, we are in that stage, where you need to invest money. You need to have that cheat code, right, to compete with the likes of Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, PSG. You've got Bayern and PSG, two of the European giants who've got relatively very, very easy league, right? So they can, if they do not really need to spend much to necessarily compete in the Champions League, right? They can just spend on one or two good players. That would be enough for them. You've got the likes of Newcastle, Manchester City, even Chelsea for that matter, coming up and spending massive money. So you need to have that owner who's going to invest again and again and again. I want to see an owner who's got that gig in him that, what, I'm going to come down here, I'm going to renovate the Old Trafford, I'm going to set the Carrington right, I'm going to make it the best academy in the world. All this talk of, Carrington not being up to the standard, I'm just going to change it. I'm going to change the people, change the board, I'm going to get some new players, going to get the club back at its feet. That's all I care about, to be very honest with you.
So you brought Bayern into the discussion, and just because you brought Bayern, a rather intriguing prospect came into my mind. I will ask all you gentlemen your thoughts about it. Mojo sir, I'll start about you. What about the 50+1 ownership model?
But
Would it
you need to have a complete. So
would the
what I'm
fans
saying is,
be good owners, and would this mean that would it be a better model compared to the tried and tested method of a consortium or a nation state backing a club, for example? because we've seen
Well,
it work. Because we've seen it work. I mean, almost all the German clubs, bar four, are fan owned.
now look, for that to happen in the Premier League, you need a complete cultural shift. You need a complete Premier League operational shift. And practically, I don't think that's doable given the state that the Premier League is at this moment in time. I mean, how do you get a 50+1 kind of a thing implemented at Newcastle or a Man City for that matter? I mean, so it's got to a point where while it sounds nice because the Bundesliga has made it look very successful, but then they did it from the point that the league started. That there were a couple of hiccups in the first initial couple of years, and they realized that they're not on the right path, and then they needed to listen to the larger fan community to run how the to figure out how the clubs need to be run. They took corrective actions at the time when the league wasn't so called, etched in stone, so to speak. Premier League has gone way too. I mean, currently Premier League is actually selling TV rights for 4 billion, 5 billion pounds per annum. You go into a fan scheme. You think that's the level of money that's going to come into the club? The Premier League is way past that now. I don't think that can happen now. It could have in the formative years, 92 se leke 95 tak, had people seen which way is it going. And look, I mean, United at that time were beginning to get successful, and it's only in 1999 that we actually spent 27 million in trying to sign. Who did we sign? Um, Dwight York and one of Yap Stam or whosoever we brought that summer for a combined fee of 27 million. 27 million in 1999. Maybe that those were the times when people could have figured out that yes, look, we need to go into that fan ownership model, but we are way too past it now. Way too past it. The British culture doesn't. I mean, while on social media, everybody will be on their high moral horse that it should be the way it is, like in Germany. But realistically, it cannot be done because deep down, everybody wants success. Now, you're so far ahead in the business model of the Premier League or the clubs that you can't possibly
Right,
come
right.
back into that model.
Fair enough, fair enough. Where were your thoughts on fan ownership? Let's keep it short and then we'll wrap it up. Your thoughts on fan ownership? Is it a
Um,
pro or would it work for a club like United?
Look, it's definitely a pro considering what we've endured in the Glazer era. But I think it's only possible if somebody like a Red Knight. I'm sure Moses sir would remember the Red Knight consortium in the 2009 and 2010 season. If somebody like a Red Knight consortium or the class of '92, the likes of Gary Neville and all come in and purchase the club through a consortium, or even Michael Knighton for that matter. But look, I think Premier League was initially set up for money. Let's all be fair, right? Even if I'm let's say just imagine I'm Mukesh Ambani and I've got the net worth of 80 billion, right? I wouldn't necessarily be very happy, investing what 10, 12 billion in that club and then giving 50% of my say to people who have not really invested as much as I have, because you see, I mean, any businessman or any rich person who comes to this club, yes, there's this motivation to win and all that stuff. There would be that mentality of gaining profits, right? It's the biggest club in the world, it's the biggest brand in the world, and definitely there are people who would not like to share those profits, you know but then again, I think fan consortium, I don't think so, but yeah, I think if fans do get voting rights in certain decisions, like the dividends and infrastructure and all these things, which I think we can sort it out. I'm sure Chelsea has done something around that. Apparently they've got, I think, two fan groups representing them in the main board or something like that. So we can definitely come up with that, but it's very, very unlikely because the main setup of Premier League was to gain money, pump in the money, right? I mean, so yeah, in that logic, I don't think so it's possible.
And rightly so. Fair enough. And Ojasbhai, what about you? Uh,
Yeah, I really don't have idea of how this ownership operates. Whatever I believe that at the time of this transformation that is happening around the club, we need a stable ownership. What this type of ownership is an example of something that the club has laid something on the bottom, and it is developing into a much bigger entity. So right now we need someone to stabilize that ownership, stabilize the brand again, bring the fans back to the central connectivity with the club, with the players, and then maybe in future or maybe not. But right now we need some stable group sitting at the top.
All right, fair enough. So with this, we've come to the end of our stream. We've spoken a lot about the notorious owners. We've spoken about how they've affected the club. What have been the impact of the fans? What could be the prospective way forward? So on and so forth. And the fact that Manchester United are gargantuan and grandiose even at this time is the clear fact that in spite of a World Cup going on 3,000 to 4,000 miles away from us, depending on where we are geographically at the moment, Manchester United still remains the center of all headlines even today. This goes to show how big we are, and this is probably what we fans mean when we say hated, adored, but never ignored. So, uh, uh, so let's just hope that everything works out in our favor, and we finally get to enjoy the club that we so dearly love, reaching those heights once again. Before we end, we do have a couple of exciting games at the World Cup coming up. Spain take on Costa Rica, and then Belgium take on Canada in the midnight game. So before I go, gentlemen, quick predictions for both the games. Moses, starting with you. Spain versus Costa Rica. What's your result for that?
I think Spain win, but if
And
Costa Rica,
okay,
but if Costa Rica turn up like Japan and Saudi Arabia, then anything could happen.
and Belgium versus Canada.
Belgium, Canada is just. I mean, they're just. I mean, I'm glad they're there, but Belgium will have a little too much for them.
Weber, what about you? Spain versus Costa Rica. Your thoughts? Who's going to win it?
Well, I think the fact that there has been so many upside downs, I think the team will be more careful. So I think it's going to be Spain all the way, 2-0. And Belgium easy. I think for Belgium, I won't say kick in the walk, but I think they would bang in 3 goals. Easy.
I mean, Moses will agree to me as an England fan. The sight of Germany losing just gives your heart that extra bit of satisfaction. And
Look, I mean, these kind of days, in the kind of schedule I have nowadays, is extremely uplifting. You have England winning, you have Germany losing, you have Marcy losing, Argentina getting done. It's like it just, and then Glazers wanting to sell. All these things packed into 48 hours don't come too often in
much,
life.
too much of
Even
happiness
during
as
IPL,
United
Yes,
fans, we aren't accustomed to it,
yes.
Yeah, Moses, let's come to you. Your predictions on the Spain versus Costa Rica game.
I think I will go with the underdogs here. I see Costa Rica either drawing it or going for a win,
Huh?
just for the sake of what is happening in this World Cup. But agreeing with everyone on this panel, I think Belgium will be too much for Canada right now. Canada is a very young country in the World Cup era. So, but I think we will be for a surprise if we sleep early tonight. Maybe we will be for a surprise in the morning.
So asking me as for the Spain and Costa Rica game is concerned, even I will agree with Ojasbai. I believe that Costa Rica might just get something out of the side. And as far as Belgium and Canada are concerned, I mean, I still have thoughts about, if Canada are able to use their pace to exploit that aging Belgian backline, maybe they
Right.
can get something out of this. But then I think the general consensus Belgium too good on
And
the offensive side of things.
apart from the Belgium's aging backline, what could also help Canada is Lukaku's first touch.
Oh yes, La Cata.
No,
Lakata.
what actually problem with that game is that Canada is facing a one-man army also. That is De Bruyne. When every 10 the other 10 players are really playing poor, the De Bruyne holds the team like a spinal cord. He just molds everything into center of that, some creates some magic or what. That is why I believe it's too much for Canada right now.
Alright. So we
Point.
have a very exciting couple of games ahead of us, and with exciting and since we're talking about exciting, there will be more exciting content coming up like this. and we keep on trying to deliver for our loyal subscribers. And for those who are new to the channel, please do like, share, and subscribe. Spread the word. This is not a one-off. We will keep on coming live. We will keep on having watch-alongs. The World Cup is long. So we will make sure that the World Cup is covered in all its glory, and with the respect and the attention that it so rightly deserves. Do follow us on our social media. We are active on Instagram as well as Twitter. And like I always say in each and every stream, every day is match day on our official WhatsApp group. So you do not want to miss an opportunity to hop in on that. Apart from that, we also have our own fan website which is dedicated to the fans. Do check that out as well. There are a lot of interesting stuff. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you can go on. There are blogs for the readers of the game who want to read in more depth about the game. There are prediction contests, there are quizzes for the football aficionados, and so on and so forth. A lot of exciting things coming up from here. But for now, this is Delvin along with Mojo Sir, Webov, and Ojas Bhai saying goodbye. Thank you to all the people who joined our stream. Thank you for the comments in the comment section. We will keep on seeing you. And for the Glazers, I once again have two words to say: see you never. And with that, it is goodbye. Take care, everyone. GGMU, and hope to see our club back where it belongs.
Take care, guys. Thank you.